Welcome to the Gem Revealed podcast, where together we discover your soulmate. This is a weekly series of powerful conversations with expert speakers, thought leaders, and relationship coaches talking through the victories and villains that weave their way into our most significant relationships. Please join me, Janine Monize, founder of Gem Revealed Matchmaking, to learn the raw truth regarding the pitfalls and plateaus of dating in today's society. We will have open and transparent conversations surrounding the staggering facts that 1 out of every 2 marriages fail. Let's stop this insanity and learn how to date smarter. Learn how a healthy relationship starts with you. What do you need to do differently to build the right foundation for your relationship? Hello, Gem Revealed listeners. I am so excited for one more week of our weekly podcast, Self-Mastery to Soulmate. And I am probably more thrilled than ever with the guest that I have this week, because the commitment is always to bring something so incredibly valuable to your life and to your relationships. And this week, I think I hit the ceiling. I have a friend with me who I can't wait to introduce. I'm going to give her a shout out now, introduce her, but then I want to brag on her a little bit. So her name is Lola Aparicio. Lola, did I even say that right? Give me.
Perfect. Lola Aparicio. Yes, Aparicio.
You're going to be able to say with that kind of that accent. So gorgeous, so gorgeous. But I want to share how I know Lola. Lola has been, I guess we're going back almost 5 years, 6 years. How many years?
Yes, I think at least 5. Yes.
At least 5, and we know each other from the world of Tony Robbins, which, no secret, I am an incredible raving fan of Tony Robbins and the company that I worked in for many, many years. I just also believed in that kind of philosophy, we'll say, methodologies. And Lola has earned the badge, the title of the #1 salesperson within that organization. So imagine the amount of aptitude this woman has for life, for love, for technique, for sales, for method. I am bringing the top to the top to the top to the table today. So I am so excited. I'm fired up. I am ready to bring on the greatest guest I may have had so far. Lola, I love you. We were just getting to chat before we dove into this conversation. It's been a couple years before we've had any one-on-one conversation, but it was so great to catch up. Why don't you say hello to our listeners?
Oh my God, thank you so much. What an introduction. What an introduction. It's just like, wow, you made me blush. It's an honor for me to be here with you. I really, really appreciate it. I have seen your, all these interviews that you've done. So for me, again, this is an honor. It's a pleasure to be here with you and your listeners. And oh my God, what's such an amazing words for me. Like you just said, we known each other for probably 5 years or more, and you're an amazing soul. You are an amazing person. Everything about you is amazing. You inspire me so much. So thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. And if there is anything that I can share with your audience that it can help them or inspire, please, I'm happy to be here.
Well, that makes me feel great. So again, I love looking back at, the past and the journey that we've shared, because the one thing that I loved is, here you were as person, pretty much the salesperson who would basically give us tickets to enter into the Tony Robbins world. But somehow or another, that was never what you really did. What you did was you gave me peace of mind. You gave me joy. You gave me friendship. You called me. You made sure I was a VIP. You made sure it was not even negotiations. It was almost as I was paying. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see you. It was never a problem to pay for something, because what I was getting in return was that much greater. And that is a gift. So, for all the times we've worked together over the years and been a part of each other's life and the friendship we've created, I'm just so grateful for you. And I'm glad that
Thank you. You
that.
know, it's funny because sometimes people think that when you're in sales, it's just a transaction, and it's not. I mean, I always say that life is a transaction. Life is a sell. You sell yourself for anything. For me, when I'm, people calling me, like I don't even remember when was the last time we talked. It's just I'm not selling a ticket. I'm just taking care of you. I'm the person that is gonna guide you, is gonna support you, like you said, like, okay, I'm gonna hold your hand and I'm gonna take you to the event. I explain sometimes to people that my position is not just a sell. I'm just supporting, okay, what do you want to do in your life and what do you need in your life? Because sometimes when people want, it's completely different than what they really need. And sometimes it takes a conversation to figure that out, okay, where are you going and where are you going to be, right? How we get you to get to your goal, to get to your dream. And for me, I love that about my job. I love that I had to connect. I love that I'm a piece in the puzzle, helping you to get there. And for you, I remember, these conversations, it was just not you. It was just all this army of people that they were going with you. So trying to be sure that everybody was okay, everybody was happy. People think that it's just you get a ticket to the movies and you go to the movies. But going to Tony Robbins event is way more than that. Like I said, it's a dream. It's just goal. People coming with anxiety, with uncertainty, with hope. So I love that I get to communicate, that I get to be part of people's life. I love that. I love about, connection. It's just the connection with people.
Well, what I can tell you, I remember is yes, being in charge of, perhaps maybe 50 people showing up and having a world-class experience. And right in the very beginning, when you gave me your cell number, I'm like, this is a world-class woman right here. She has no clue who she's given her cell number to, because I'll use it if I need it. And that was a great moment, a great interaction, not a transaction. It showed me who you were. And here we are years later. I still wouldn't even think of Tony Robbins without thinking of you. And if I ever even think about going to an event, you are the person that comes to my mind. So I'm just so grateful for you. But today, with what I'm hoping, maybe the conversation can go behind the scenes of the number one salesperson in that organization. We know that means, all the techniques, the methodology, but it's been a long road, and that's not where you started out. I know this beautiful woman and the friend that I have in front of me, but there's a journey there. There was a journey. And with Gem Revealed, our mission is to change the world one relationship at a time, because we know that every marriage, 1 out of every 2 marriages really falls apart. It's in a divorce, and that's chaos. That's just chaos for our community, for our children, for finances. It's chaotic. So how do we stop that? And here, what I want to do is always show the journey of somebody like yourself, who is, we get to look at as this beautiful woman, number one in a company, single, taking care of her beautiful daughter, who I just saw, who looks like a supermodel. But it wasn't always like that. So why don't you can you give a snapshot of who that was years and years ago, who walked down the aisle never thinking she'd end up in a divorce, and what that journey looked like to today? Give us some just quick snapshots, and maybe some of the toll gates that happened along the way that really got you to here you are today.
Well, one of the things that I can give credit to, my journey is just getting to know who I really am, which we were just talking about this before. Like, I still get to know who I am. I still get to understand why I do the things that I do. My story could pretty much go back 10 years ago, right? I was with my daughter, no, probably more time. I got separated when she was 6 months. Right? So here I am with a 6-month-old baby, not knowing what to do, right? And it was just inside of me, I always have the fire. Like, I always wanted to have more. So I never had a problem to do whatever it takes to just keep going. I don't see things like, okay, I'm just gonna quit. I'm not a quitter. So for me, it's like, I'm always going to keep going. Even if I make another mistake, I always know that I had to keep going. There's not an option. When people ask me like, why you didn't go back to Argentina, which that's where I originally am from, I'm like, no, because for me, it's like, why? I knew I wanted to be in this country. I knew that I chose this country to live. Why I wasn't going to go back to my country. So the fantasy sometimes is like, well, you're going to go back to your country, you have people helping you, which is true. I do have my family there, but my family also had their life, right? So I knew that regardless of where I was, you're always in your own. You're always a sole person. You need to have your own journey, regardless of how many friends or family you have there to support you. So for me, I knew at that moment that my baby was the most important thing and I need to keep going. So I did whatever you can imagine. I clean houses. You know, I was selling. I remember at some point, one of my friends gave me $100, and I said, "What am I gonna do with this $100?" You know, it was $100 to buy food because I was so broken that I didn't even have money for food. But what I did instead, I used to live in Jersey City, New Jersey at that moment. And I went to Manhattan. There is an area in Manhattan where all the wholesales are there, you know, for like the fashion district, I think it's called. So I went into all these wholesale stores and I got jewelry. I got like rings, I got earrings. I spent $100 in a bunch of jewelry. So what I did is I started going to every single nail salon, you know, all this spa. I remember I was freezing. It was super cold in the winter time with a stroller with my daughter. And I would go to every single like nail salon, which thank God there is gazillions in Manhattan or in New Jersey, you know, Hoboken, Jersey City, there is millions of those places. And I would go and I would just go and the people that they were having the nails done, I would offer the jewelry. And that $100 got transformed into like 300. And then the 300 were transformed into more. Still, I was cleaning houses. I was like, wow. You know, waitress, whatever. I did whatever it takes, right? Until I landed in an office. I was working in an office. Once, one of my coworkers, he said,
before you go there, right? I just want to lose a moment. And I don't want to stop you because you're on a roll, but I just want to just share a moment and highlight it. It's that money was so needed. It was so important at that time, but yet you chose to make sure, how do I make this money turn into a bigger pot of gold? So your mind was always solutioning, and it wasn't victim mode. It was, how do I solution? How do I get,
absolutely,
how do I identify what I want and move towards it? And I would ask everybody, that is a light bulb moment, that instead of being a victim, here you are, divorced, 6 baby, cleaning houses. There's a lot of reason to now feel like a victim, but instead you took that entrepreneurial mindset and said, how am I going to take this money and make it work for me? That there is the beginning.
Yes.
Incredible. That's why you're sitting in the seat you're
in. That's exactly the beginning. Because, you know, for me, it's like, never look back. Whatever is past is past. I can't change my past, but I can change the future and the future of my baby. And, you know, for me, it's like, how many times I'm going to have a friend that is going to give me $100? She can give me $100 today, maybe tomorrow, but I can't be asking for $100 all the time. So I knew that I needed to do something. And despite all the odds, I have people calling me like irresponsible because the only $100 for food, I spend it in jewelry, which is like, really? And also, you know, going out in the winter, you know how it is, the winter, you know, like these freezing temperatures with a baby. I remember once getting into this hair salon, and the woman at the front desk, she called me. I mean, I don't even know what else she told me, but basically she was calling me irresponsible because of my baby, and it was so cold. But I knew that if I didn't do that, I was not going to eat, and I was not going to have enough money to buy diapers. So for me, even with the call, I didn't have a babysitter. I didn't have money to pay for anybody. I didn't have family here. I needed to do. So I did what I needed to do. I did not, I just turned off, you know, my ears, and I did not listen to all the nonsense, because in your journey, you're going to have a lot of people like talking nonsense. You know, nobody knows what you're going through unless you're going through the same experience. And you can have the same experience as me, but it's not the same. You're going to feel and live it different.
I want to point out two things you just said that are critical as well. You blocked out the noise. You blocked out the naysayers. You blocked out the chaos from the circumstances.
Yes.
You listened to your why, and your why was at that point, I got to feed my child.
Yeah.
Right.
I got to feed my child.
Is to really know your why and to block out the naysayers.
Yes.
And please, I'm just trying to make sure
I know.
I highlight big blurbs that you're saying because they're so important. Okay, so now here we are. You're in an office. Where's the office? What are you doing?
So I was working in Manhattan, and I was a secretary. I started working as a secretary, right? So I'm working there, and one of my colleagues says one day to me, he was all into this, personal growth path. So he was doing, like some Louise Hay. I don't know if you know Louise Hay. She is, she was amazing into the personal development.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing some retreat for inner peace. He was too advanced for me, and he was always talking about something, right? So he lent me a Louise Hay book, which is You Can Heal Your Life. And honestly, I was just like, what is this? And then he talked to me about The Secret, the movie The Secret. So I also watched The Secret, and I knew that it has to be something else. But in back of my mind, it was always like, like you're watching the movie or you're reading a book, and you know that there's something else, but the other noise is like, it's not for me. That's not gonna happen. Like, oh, it's too good to be true. So, but still, I keep reading, and I keep, I remember I started doing my visualization board. So I started getting more and more into this. And I knew like, this cannot be what God wants for me in my life. I know that I was not born just to do this, just to survive. God wants me to have a good life, to be happy, and for me, it's like, this is not being happy. This is just surviving, the years are passing. I want to have something more. So
I want to point out, so we're at a transition point, but I want to point out a couple things because I don't want anyone to miss it because it's so good. It's just so good. One, you said in the beginning, there was always this fire inside of me. And you just, again, I know this can't be it, right? So it's not that it's this unhealthy discontent. It was a fire inside of you that I want more. I know that God put something inside of me and is birthing something, and I want to go after it. So that's really important. It's like, you've got to want to go after it. I think that is.
Yeah. And you know what? Also, like you just said, like, I have all the excuses to complain. I had all the excuses to be miserable and just cry and, let life happen for me. But I was just like, no, there is something that I never had any problem with doing, whatever it takes. And I do that. I talk to my clients sometimes, and they're like, oh, but I can't do this. Oh, well, I can't do that. And I said, listen, I have no problem even sharing the story. Like, people will be embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed. I used to clean toilets from another people, but it's like, whatever it takes. So that's something that
whatever it takes. Again, the little nuances, I don't want to miss the nuances that drive inside of you. But what you also said, I don't want anybody to bypass it. It's the amount of the layering and the consistency, the little things. You were listening to tapes. You were listening to books. I just heard you say, I created a vision board. These are all the things that top motivational speakers, influencers, thought leaders are all sharing. But people miss out on these little building blocks and the layering of the consistency and creating the habits. So you had the drive, you did the hard work, you went after it, you did the cleaning of the toilets while you're listening to the tapes, reading the books, creating the vision board, and going after it. So I don't want to miss the muscle behind all of it. There's a lot.
And thank you for pointing that out, because sometimes we take for granted the things that we do. Like, for me, especially at the beginning, people will be like, oh my God, you did that. And I'm like, I didn't see other option. For me, it's like, you need to keep going. You
were surviving.
But I also noticed that sometimes for me, what it was, I don't want to say easy, because it was not easy, believe me, but for me, there was no other option. It's like, I need to keep going. Sometimes people don't think like that. They don't want to clean a toilet from somebody else. People don't want to go and, being a waiter for a table for like pennies. But when your goal is bigger than your pain, for me, my pain is like, I'm not going to live like this always.
Can you say that again?
Your goal is bigger than your pain.
Got it.
So the pain can be brutal at some moment, but your goal needs to be bigger than your pain. And you know that this is temporary. I knew this shall pass. I knew this is not going to be like that, but I didn't let it be just a dream, oh, someday. No, I worked, and I knew I was going to get rewarded for what I was doing. I knew it was temporary. I knew things were going to open up, but there's no magic, you know, like Tony doesn't go home with you. Louis Hay, any of these inspirational speakers, they don't go home with you. They give you the tools. If you don't read it, it's just you become an eternal student. You know, you just need to apply this. So for me, it was more like, you know, without knowing and then knowing, I start applying the thing, like you said, like the visualization board. I was just doing it because it was just, okay, you know, let's dream a bit, you know, let's make some fun of what do I want? If I can have just, you know, the universe, God, you know, whatever you live, like giving the opportunity to me, this is what I want to do. And then I start planning, okay, how am I going to get to this goal, right? So, you know, a few years passed, and I remember I bumped into this neighbor that she was like glowing. And I don't want to go deep because I know we don't have much time. I can be talking for hours. But she mentioned to me, I say, you know, something was different in her. And I say, what happened? You know, and she told me that she went to a Tony Robbins event. For me at that moment, first of all, I have no idea who was Tony. I'm like, Tony who? You know, I had no idea who he was, you know, and when she told me about it, I was just like, oh, I can't afford that. I can't. It was just impossible. It was impossible for me. Literally, I remember like, no. So she's like, if you can't, then you must. She said that to me. And I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, like
Could
that.
you say that one again too? Can we make that a bumper sticker? Could you say?
Yes. If you can't, then you must. Which is true. When you can't, you need to make it a must. You need to work. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not going to say it's overnight. But when people talk about massive action, it's not like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to be super skinny. Tomorrow I'm going to be millionaire. The massive action is your mindset. You need to change your mind overnight, within a second, within an hour. You know, there is a lot of like motivational speakers, or they talk about what is the massive action. When your house is on fire, you don't even think about it. If your loved one is inside the house, you're gonna run inside the house. Hopefully, no, the fire department will be there, but it's like you don't think about it. So and that is a painful moment when you take massive action. So you need to decide right away, and then you work towards your goal. So once you decide what you want, I truly believe, especially right now after all these years, like things will fall into place. So going back to that story, I remember 2 days after that, I was talking to one of my very good friends, that he was my boss in that company. And we were on the phone, and I say, hey, do you know who's Tony Robbins? Like, he's like, oh, of course, I know Tony Robbins. So, you know, we start talking in the conversation, and he's like, would you like to go? I'm like, oh my God, I can't afford. So anyway, I shared the conversation with him. And 2 days after, he called me and he said, I bought a ticket for you. So you're going to get ready because you're going to go to see Tony. And for me, it was just like, no, I can pay for this. And he's like, I'm not asking you to pay me back. This is a gift. So that was probably the best gift that I ever received in my life, because it literally changed my life. It changed my daughter's life, and it changed everybody around me. You know, like my friends were changed for this, like my family, like, and all these amazing clients that I have, like their life were transformed because of that. But of course, that was not enough. You know, you always need to keep doing something. It's like going to the gym. You go to the gym, you have a perfect body, but then you start going to the gym, and then you go back to your old body, you know, your muscles, everything. You need to keep training yourself. And that's something that for me, again, it took me a time to understand that. Because for me, I remember going to school, you know, to have fun. I remember being in high school to have fun. I went to university, I had my degree, but then it was just like, okay, that's it. And then you realize in life, it's never that's it. You always need to have more. Whatever it is that you want, you always, it's like, you know, finding the right man for you. I'm sure you talk about this with your client. It's not that you find the right man and that's it. Okay, you need to keep working. You need to keep watering the plant, right? A plant won't grow unless you keep putting some water in it.
Yeah, that's gold right there. I want to do a commercial break because you said something else that is a little bit of a side note. So I'm going to step I'm going to take one step sideways. You talked about this gentleman and he gave you a gift. And I know, you know, a ticket to Tony Robbins is, you know, it's not chump change. It's definitely a good amount of money. But that gift, you said what the ripple effect was. It changed your life, your daughter's life, your family's life, your colleagues' life, your friends now, you know, people like you and I, you know, that ripple effect goes on and on. So just mention the word contribution. You know, especially in from learnings from the Tony world, contribution is a huge part of a human need. And just looking at all of us, if we took the opportunity to give from our scarcity and give somebody, or give from your abundance and give and contribute, you could change a life. And I just think that part is so beautiful that I didn't want to sweep that under the carpet, because it did change your life. And, you know, I get to know the beautiful person you are today. And I'm excited for you. I'm excited to where you're going too. So here you are, you've gotten this company. Now what? So you're there, you walk in, we've heard it changed your life, but how'd you go from entry level to Lola, top salesperson in the company?
Well, first I went from being a participant to then start working in the company, and that for me was a very important journey. First, I made a promise to myself that I was gonna pay forward the gift, which I did. You know, once I had the money, I did the same for a friend of mine that she couldn't afford. So I did that. Because you just mentioned contribution is super important. I always say to people, like, you need to be doing that, whether it's your time, your money, something. It doesn't have to be necessarily money. People sometimes say, well, I don't have any money. You can also contribute your time, your support for a friend or somebody.
So important. Yeah, we can't downplay that. In a best self journey, contribution, it rates really high. So everybody's best self journey, I hope there's an abundant amount of contribution, because it really is beautiful.
Yes. So I want to share something else with you, because I don't think you know this story. I'm going to be fast. I know that we have a lot of things to talk.
If it's a good story, you can keep going.
Okay. So anyway, I went to Tony Robbins, right? It changed my life. So I started going a little bit better, you know, like things. So then I went back. I did the event twice, right? But I didn't have the money to do anything else. And I wanted to do more for his Master University. So at that moment, I was living in Jersey City, in downtown Jersey City. I was living in an apartment where it had like super old apartment, typical, you know, New York, New Jersey, old apartment with a lot of things going on. So one day they got an inspection from the government or the city, and they found out that the building had a lot of violations, right? And I'm saying this because it's a very important piece. I didn't know the apartment was supposed to be a rent control apartment. So I was not paying rent control rent. I was paying cheaper than the average, but I was still paying more. So long story short, without getting into those details, what they did is like they had to pay all these fines, and they couldn't pay us back the money that they overcharged us. But basically what they did is that I lived there for like 8 months without paying rent, because I overpay according to the government.
Wow.
So those 8 months made me a cushion to get some money, right? What they did right away is like they sold the building. So the new company that came, it was a company to do all, like recycling the whole apartments. They offered us money to live so they can renovate and sell it for like a fancy, downtown Jersey City price. So I remember, and again, I'm being super brief here, they offered me $10,000 to leave the apartment. And guess how much money was the Master University with Tony Robbins? It was $10,000. So I went to an event as a volunteer because I didn't have more money to keep paying for events. And I went to the event and I was just like, something inside of me, I didn't even think about it. Something inside of me is like, I need more. If I want to have more in my life, I need more. And I always compared this very easy. Like when you go to the casino with $1, you make 100, 1,000. When you go to the casino with $1 million, you will get a lot of millions. So when you want, or nothing probably. But my point is like, people understand that better. When I say you need to invest in yourself, people had a lot of resistance to invest in themselves. They don't have any problem to get new Apple Watch or the, you know, the cell phone 3 million XYZ, whatever the new iPhone that is. People have no problem being online and overnight to get a cell phone. But when it's about investing in yourself, there is more resistance, right? So for me, I knew that I needed to do something more. And I knew that I was going to make it probably, but it was going to take me 20, 30 years. And I didn't have time. I'm like, I need to do this right now. I need help from somebody that knows and already did it. So I remember just being like moved from, I don't even know how. I went to the front, I went to the desk, and I signed up for my master university. And it was just like, what did I do, right? And I paid the only $10,000 that I had. Of course, I was called irresponsible. My friends were like, I can't believe you don't even have a car and you're paying this. And I was just like, I don't want a car. I don't need a car. I'm like, a car is, yeah, it's going to bring me some places, but I wanted a change in my life. So I also learned through this journey that people do what they can with the resources that they have. And when my friends, my loved ones were calling me crazy, irresponsible, it was their fears. It was their own fears. And, you know, sometimes in life, you need to take a leap of faith. I'm not gonna lie. I was also like scared. I was also like, oh my God, what did I do? Maybe this was a mistake. And a lot of times I call my rep at the moment, which he is amazing. And I will be like, no, I think I made a mistake. And he will be talking to me and he will be like engaging with me. And he will be like bringing me up like, okay, what is the reason what do you really want in your life? And I will be like, okay, no, this is a good thing. But this is a brief story, but I'm telling you, like God or whoever you believe gave me, I never knew that the apartment that I was living has so many violations. I never knew that somebody could even offer me money in a legal way. That this is something that I didn't even know. You know, I remember talking to a lawyer. I was like, oh, no, this is nothing. You know, like people will pay you out. So, okay, to give you money, you leave the apartment. Which for me was just like, okay, I'm gonna leave the apartment, but where am I going now? You know, the rent could be super high now. And I knew inside of myself that that was the right thing to do. That was an investment, and the rest is a story.
It really is no different than the $100 that you turned into the 300, which turned into the 1,000. It's no different. And all the chaos, confusion, and naysayers, you had to block that out, and you had to hear why. Yes. It's no different, which I love that you shared almost the same exact principles, because it is really transferable to all of us. How many of us are listening to the naysayers? How many of us are listening to the chaos and the confusion of the circumstances, forgetting about their why, forgetting about the passion and giving up on the dream, and letting that voice and the desires inside of you die? And that's why I think your story is beautiful. And the only thing I want to hear in closing here is, so here you go, you're at Master University, which, you know, I know how amazing that is. So how do you go from Master University, close the gap for us, Master University to top salesman?
Okay. So I knew that, like I said, that I needed to continue educate myself. So I was doing at least one event a year. I was volunteer. And then at some point, I'm like, I just want to do this for a living. I know that I love this. Why not to get paid, you know? So I applied to work and I got hired. It was a hard process to get hired, but there's no secret. When people ask me, how do you do? I'm like, I just send my resume and I insist, I follow up, and I got into the company. So when I got into the company, I didn't get into this position. I got into another one where my boss told me in the interview, this is a stepping stone, you know, like I'm just getting my feet inside the company. And then again, I'm like, okay, I'm in the company. I want more, you know? So, so I'm like, I start showing signs and talking to my boss that that position was a salary position, but it was a very low salary. So I knew that I wanted to make more money. And I'm like, listen, I'm good at this. I'm good. I talk to people. I already did all the events. I can share my story. I can share what I know about the events. Why not start working in that position? So they gave me a promotion after a year and a half. They gave me a promotion. And of course, you know, I'm not gonna lie, you know, if my peers watch this, is that I was the Rocky, I was the dreamer in the team because I wanted to change things. I wanted to change people's life, and I wanted to do more. And we're like, oh, you know, you're too new, you will see. But for me, it's like I know that there is more. There is always something else. So the first year, I'm gonna share this with you. The first year that I worked in the company in the other position, I won the Platinum Player of the Year, which is the highest prize in your department, right? And it was unanimous. Like we all vote for a person, and I won that Platinum Player. So I was just like, ooh. And I'm not saying this to be showing off. It was for me like a recognition, like I'm doing something good. I'm doing the right thing. So then the second year came, and you know, again, at the end of the year, we all voted for a person. And I was in transition between that position and the new position that I was. So I was like, I'm not gonna win again. I just won last year. That's it. So here again, second year, I again the Platinum Player of the Year. And I was just like, oh my God, in the new department. So, you know, for me, it was just like, at first I didn't share the things because I didn't want people to believe that I was like I said, showing off, you know, like, oh, she's so snow. But it was just like, wait a minute, this is a recognition from my team, from my peers. So I'm doing something good. Then the third year came and I was just like, okay, enough. So instead of winning the platinum player of my team, I got recognized by Tony for the platinum player of the whole company. So each department has one platinum player, and then the whole company has one that is picked by Tony. And of course, Tony and all the executive teams, you know, they all decide. So for me, it was just like, I remember, oh my God, I cried so bad because I just couldn't believe that there was more for me. So I was just like 3 years in a row. I'm like, oh my God, that gave me more enthusiasm, you know, like, and this is something that when I talk to business owners, I talk to them like, you need to take care of your people. You need to encourage them to do more. For me, that was just like, I'm doing the right thing, you know, the recognition from, you know, the company, my clients, you know, my peers. So like I said, I always knew that I wanted more. And my position is a position that if you work, you make money. You don't work, you don't make money. You know, it's up to you. But for me, it gave me fulfillment to be talking to people. I'm not a pushy person. So I think one of the things that always I stand out is that I'm not going to push you. If you don't buy something, somebody else is going to buy it. I do believe in the product. And I am you 10 years ago when the people, you know, coming to the company, I am these people. I am these people 10 years ago, 12 years ago. So I know what they're going through. So I have no problem supporting them. Of course, you know, applying everything that Tony teaches. Without knowing, without realizing, I become a top producer because I apply what he teaches. You know, I always look for things to give more to my clients. You know, since you said like, when I give you my cell phone, for me, it's just like, oh, I just give you my cell phone. You know, it's not a big deal. But then I do know some of my peers that don't share their cell phone with the clients. So I'm always looking for things for more into my life, but also into my clients' life to make them feel like content. You know, if I'm talking to my Spanish clients, which I deal with a lot of Latin America, they have so much uncertainty. They don't even speak the language and this and that. So I always try to make things easier for them. I don't babysit them because I think that is a mistake as well. And if I had to say, if I had to be harsh with somebody, I will, because I don't like to babysit people, and babysitting would help them. But I just work. I think my first year, I don't think I ever had a day off. You know, probably the first year and a half or more, I don't think I ever had a day off. I would work, be available 24/7, which it could be tricky as well. You know, and I always say you need also to set your boundaries because you need to dedicate your time for yourself, for your family. But the secret was that, you know, I will do whatever it takes, and to walk the talk, especially that. I will never tell you to do something that I haven't done or that I have not believed that it works. So that is the secret, you know.
I have to share that, you know, obviously I didn't know any of this backstory. As much as, you know, we've kept in touch, we talk, I don't know any of this story. So I have to tell you, I'm not surprised by any of it, because it really did elude from you from the time that we met. And that's why I think that you and I have such loyalty towards you within the company, and that no matter what, if I was going to step into the Tony Robbins world, you are the person that I would speak to. But in closing, you know, again, what you just revealed prior to us jumping onto this podcast and before the recording, you mentioned that you were mentoring people now on your own. And, you know, that's something I didn't know either. So I want to just touch on that for a second. In conclusion, you know, I believe that there's billions of people in the world, and I'd love to coach them on mindset, best self journey, on a relationship that's long lasting and healthy, and to love yourself first. But you're also doing amazing things and mentoring people. So can you give us a 1-minute summary of what that mentoring is, and if people wanted to get in touch with you, Lola, how could
thank you. Yes, absolutely. What I'm doing is especially for business and people that they're entrepreneurs, or people that have great idea and they don't know how to start. People always like ask me, how are you doing so good in sales? So I'm sharing my knowledge, whether applied to you or not. I mean, pretty much like I try to people like, okay, I don't have the final answer, but this is what I did. If you ask me, this is what I did. If you apply, you can also succeed. So I'm mentoring people in that, like how to start from nothing and go to the top.
So and would it be a startup company? Or are you talking about, you know, a $50 million company? Like give the audience a framework of what you're talking about, who you work with. Who is your target audience?
Right now, what I'm doing, like the people that I'm mentoring, is like, it's a one-on-one. I do have a group that is going to start also, like 6 people, like it's a mastermind group. But pretty much it's people like me 10 years ago, people that they may be in a stuck situation in your life. That doesn't mean that they don't have any money. They're just stuck. They know that there is more in life and they don't know how to get it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing, okay, how can you get to where you want to be?
Excellent.
Right. With tools, strategies, sharing things, sharing stories, and working together. Like I said before, I'm holding your hand and we're working together, because your success is also my success, right?
Love it. I love it. And you'll give a Gem Revealed listener a really great deal.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course. Yes, absolutely. It will be my pleasure. Yes.
Lola,
yes.
I'm totally blown away by the story. I loved it. You just show up so big. You're such a rock star. You bring such a smile to my face. I can't wait to get to see you again and hug you. And
yes.
You have been phenomenal. You fired me up. You know, I love hearing your voice, and thank you for sharing your journey and your authentic journey.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it. You have all my information if you want to share with your audience where they can find me. I have my cell phone, of course. You know.
Yes, that. She gives out her cell phone.
Yes. But yes, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. It means a lot to me. I really, really appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you.
We love you, and thank you for spending some time with Gem Revealed.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Gem Revealed's podcast, Discover Your Soulmate. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast player. We really value your opinion, so please feel free to send us your question, comments, or feedback. You can email us at info@gemrevealed.com. You can also find out more about Gem Revealed services by visiting gemrevealed.com. I'll see you next time as we discover your soulmate.